Hi everyone, my name is Ty. People use Excel automation, some people call it macro or VBA, just to simplify their routine work so that they are able to save more time on the reporting and they have more time to do something much more important. And in this video, you are going to learn how you are able to perform those automation which is so simple, which is a lot of time giving people fear that is so complicated. And let's see how you are able to get it done. Before we jump start on the Excel automation, the first thing you want to do is to switch on the developer ribbon. So if let's say on the ribbon here, you do not see the developer tabs, that means you need to turn it on. The way to turn it on is very simple. You just need to go to any of the tab or ribbon. You just need to right click and choose customize the ribbon. And after you click on the customize the ribbon, on the right side, you will see there's an option says developer. Make sure there's a checkbox. Then you press OK and you're able to see the developer ribbons appears here. So we are going to use this a lot of time throughout the session, and this developer ribbon will be helping you in automating your work easily. The very first automation we are going to experience which is to unhide the row and columns. Even though it looks so trivial, the benefits of doing something like this, you are able to perform the trivial task and by assigning a shortcut key to it. So that means you are able to trigger the trivial task by using a shortcut key and makes your work super easy. So if let's say I have received a file something like this, it has a hidden row and hidden columns, I need to unhide them. The manual task will be something like this. Select the entire worksheet. Right click on the column and choose unhide, and right click on the row and choose unhide. And at the end, I do not want to have everything selected, so I just select on the header. So this will be the manual task, and I want to automate this kind of task using Excel. First, I will need to undo and make sure there's nothing here and there are hidden row and columns still there. So first, I will go to developer and choose record macro. Inside here, I want to give you a meaningful name. If let's say I give a wrong name, something like a space, I press enter, and it will give you the guideline. What are the meaningful names? So that means you must start with a letter, that means A to Z, or start with an underscore. At the same time, do not have a space or character doesn't permit. For example, question mark, dollar sign, those are not permissible, and do not complete with an existing name. So now I just press OK, and I want to give you a very simple meaningful name. My personal suggestion would be use a mixture case, uppercase and lowercase to make sure this is easier to read. So I will use unhide all rows, columns. I just give it a meaningful name. I want to store this macro in this workbook. So that means next time I want to send the file to my colleagues or to my counterparts, they are able to use the macro here as well. So I want to leave the blank for the rest and I'll press OK. Just be sure and be mindful. Right after you press OK, everything you've done on the worksheet, it is recorded. So that means if let's say I'm performing unnecessary scroll up and down, zoom in and zoom out and doing something else, it will be recorded. So next time when I run or trigger this automation, those unnecessary tasks will be repeated as well. So I do not want to have those kind of unnecessary steps. After I have started recording, I will just redo the same step, the manual step I have just performed before start recording. I select the entire worksheet, right click on the header, that means right click on the column, I choose unhide, and I will do the same thing for the row and right click and choose unhide. And after that, I want to land on A1 so that it doesn't appear everything is selected. And at the end, I will just remember to stop recording. This is very important. And a lot of time people they do recording, they are so excited, they just want to run it and they have forgotten to stop recording. So it's very important to stop recording right after you have completed your manual task. So from this point onward, after I have stopped recording, everything you are performing on the Excel spreadsheet, it will not be recorded. So I want to do a simple test. Maybe I want to select a different column now and choose hide them and choose a different row to hide them, and let's see how it works. And I'll go back to developer. There's something called macro. Inside here you can see the macro you have just recorded. Currently it says unhide all row columns. I can choose run and ta-da! This is done so beautifully. If I want to assign a shortcut key so that it makes the thing much more easier for me to trigger, so I could do something like this. First, I want to go to developer and go back to macro. Inside here, select the macro you want to assign a shortcut key and go towards the options. And you can see the shortcut key here currently it says control with blank. It means it has no shortcut key. If I key in small letter here, then for example, H, it will be equal to control H. If I say control H in Excel, it means find and replace. That means this particular shortcut key will override existing default shortcut key. In order to prevent that thing, so I may want to use capital H that will be equivalent to control shift H. So that makes the thing much more easier and it doesn't conflict with an existing shortcut key. So I'm happy with this. I can press OK and I can press cancel now. So let me hide a certain row and columns. So let's see how it works. And now I'm going to press the shortcut key I have just assigned, which is Control Shift H. And ta-da! It just worked beautifully. And if I press Control H, it still remains as the Excel find and replace. So that means I'm safe from creating a shortcut key which is competing with Excel. So these are things I want to avoid. So I've done the first shortcut, and let's see how we're able to do the second one. The second one is very common, which is I want to copy and I want to paste as values. For example here, the unit price, it has a formula which is the cost on top of the margin. So this will be the formula. If I say I want to copy and paste it to somewhere else and paste it as values, and again this is so trivial and I just want to see how we're able to automate it. So a lot of time the manual task will be something like this. I will copy and I go to somewhere else, maybe on the same place, or I want to go somewhere else, I want to paste as values. I will do something like right click and paste as values. Okay, so this is a little bit using mouse. What if I want to use keyboard shortcut? Using keyboard shortcut using Excel or Paste Special will be Control Alt V. And I want to go to values, I will press V. As you can see, the V, it has an underscore. So that means I can use the shortcut V to represent of selection. So I press V, and to confirm, I will just press OK or Enter key. So this can be done, and even though we are able to perform that kind of shortcut, but that once it takes a lot more steps. I want to automate this kind of task. So therefore, and before we continue, and I just want to make sure I have performed the prior task, which has copied, and I want to paste special rather than Control Alt V and press Enter. So I want to combine them with the recording. So this is the same thing you want to do with developer and go to record macro. So inside record macro, I want to give it a meaningful name by mixing with the uppercase and lowercase. It will be something like this. Paste as values. And I want to give a shortcut key here immediately during recording. Control V, it means paste in normal Excel. Now I want to have something different, so I will key in capital V. It means Control Shift V. So that means you are able to have something called paste as values. So I can press OK. So immediately I will use my keyboard shortcut like what I have just performed. Control Alt V and press V and press Enter. And because the whole thing is selected, and let's let it be. And let's see how it goes. And remember, stop recording. And now let's see how we're able to perform the same thing here. by copy and go here. I press Ctrl Shift V and ta-da! If I go to some other places, Ctrl Shift V and paste as values. Let's double check. Yes, exactly, this is paste as values. If I copy in a smaller range, I go here, Ctrl Shift V, and it works perfectly. And let's double check. Yes, it works as well. So therefore, we have just completed our second automation. Do you feel good? Yes, this is so simple. And the next thing we want to do is very common as well, which is I want to have the header and footer for the particular worksheet. In Excel, we can copy and paste a lot of things except the header and footer, which is quite annoying. For example, if I go to a brand new worksheet, I need to redo the whole thing for the header and footer, which is quite annoying. And some people, they work around, they will create a template so that they are able to move the whole formatting for the header and footer to the brand new worksheet. So this is an extra step. And now I want to make the thing much more robust. Whenever I have a new worksheet, I just trigger that particular macro and it will have the header and footer to be formatted easily. And let's see how we're able to perform those things easily. Let me remove this worksheet and go back to the quotation. Inside here, I want to perform a manual task first, and let's see how the flow looks like once we are okay and comfortable with the step, and then we are able to start the recording. First, I will just need to go to page layout. So I want to go to page setup. Just click on the launch dialog inside the page setup, and I'm going towards the header and footer. Here, I want to use custom header, and I want to have something different here as well. Maybe I want to have, this is called quotation. I'll give it a meaningful name. Quotation. And on the right side, I want to have a company logo. I will just choose an image, and it will prompt me whether I want to search online or I want to browse from local file. So I want to choose browse from local file. So I will start searching for my folder. So I have a logo. I just go inside logo. There are many logos here. Maybe I want to use a coffee as a logo. I just put it here. When I press OK, you can see somehow it's not visible yet. If I go to print preview just to double check print preview, I realize the logo is too huge, and now I just want to do some resizing. If I go back to page setup on the bottom here, I go back to header and footer, go back to custom header, just click on the right section and I want to format the picture. When I click on the format picture, I have two options. Either I can resize it by using a scale, or I could resize it by using the exact measurement. So to keep it simple, I want to resize it based on the exact measurement. Maybe I want to go by 3 cm. I just type 3 and press tab. You can see the width will be aligned proportionally because I have a log aspect ratio. After this is done, I can press OK and press OK. Let's see how it goes by pressing OK again. So now this is much more simpler, and so this is the effect I want. So I realize these are the things I want, and maybe on the footer as well, I want to have the page number. Page setup, go back to header and footer, and go to custom footer. Maybe I want to have a wording called confidential. I just type confidential. And the page number I want to appear on the right section of the footer. I just insert the page number here. Page number of the space of the total page. So this one gives the reader as the sense of how many total pages they have for this particular document. I can press OK and press OK. I have the header and footer ready. So this is how I want it to be, and I have found out my manual step. The next thing I want to do is to start recording. And very importantly, prior recording, I want to remove the previous step so that it makes the recording able to recognize our step. So I will go to page setup, header and footer. I choose to none, which is the first one, none. And the footer, I will go for the same thing, none. I can press OK, so both are removed. So now I'm going to perform the recording. I go to developer, record macro, and inside here I want to choose format, header, footer. And of course you are able to choose the name that you prefer. And currently I do not want to use a shortcut key. Later I will show you another option how we are able to trigger the macro here. I want to store the macro in this workbook. I can press OK. And go to page layout. And just go to page setup. Go back to header and footer. Custom header. I remember my step. The first thing I want to do on the left section is I want to have the quotation, and on the right section is I want to have the logo. So I can click and browse for the image from my computer, which is residing inside my picture logos. I want to use coffee, double click, and I want to immediately change the format. And I want to make it like a 3 cm. Just now I realized 3 cm is a bit large. Maybe I want to change my mind. I want to make it as 2 cm here so that it is a little bit smaller. I can press OK and press OK. Now I want to do the same thing for the footer. I will custom footer. On the left section, I will type the wording confidential. And meanwhile, on the right section, I want to put the page number. So I click on the current page number, space, off, space, the total page number. I can press OK and press OK. After that, I have performed all the steps. I want to go back to developer. Make sure I stop recording before I perform some other steps. So this is done, and now I want to do a simple test on my automation. First, I want to go back to my header and footer, make them as a none. And similarly with this, I can press OK. And now I'm going to trigger this macro, go back to developer. Now I want to just test it, go back to macro, and there's something called format header and footer. Let me hit run. Okay, it looks has performed some magic. Let me press Ctrl P. Yes, I have the header with the logo, the footer with the page number. So how about we go to a brand new worksheet? So let me create a brand new worksheet, and I want to key in something here. Because if the worksheet is totally blank, in the print preview, we will not able to see anything. With this, I will type quotation, template, and I want to first check whether or not it has a header and footer by pressing Ctrl P, go to print preview. Currently, it doesn't have anything on the header, it has blank footer as well. The next thing I want to do is to trigger the macro, format header and footer, and run. After that, I press Ctrl P. Yes, I have the header with the logo, I have the footer with the page number. So everything works superly easy. And now I've got this thing ready. And the final things I want to show you how you're able to automate. This is also a very common task. And prior to that, I want to remove this temporary worksheet. And that means sometimes in our work, I want to finalize the entire worksheet and go to a brand new file. So that means I have some hidden columns here, which is I do not want to send it out to my counterparts, maybe my customer or my supplier. I just want to hide them. And sometimes people have forgotten to take out the hidden row and columns. they just copy and they just send it out, and they are leaking some confidential information. So this is the time people, they want to copy and paste to a brand new file and paste as values only for the visible cells only. And this kind of task a bit long, as in more steps, and we're able to use Excel for the automation as well. And let's see, before we start the actual automation recording or the macro recording, I want to perform the task at least once and investigate the result. If I'm comfortable with the manual steps, and then I will only start recording all the steps. First, I want to select the entire worksheet here. If I just select and I copy, it will copy the hidden row and columns as well. So this is the thing that I want to avoid. So to select the visible cells only, there are a couple of things. I could go to home and going towards right side, and you are able to see something like this going towards right side, and select as something called go to special. Inside go to special is something called visible cells only, and the keyboard shortcut is Alt semicolon. I can do something like this. You can see the hidden row is not selected. So now let me do the step again. Select the entire worksheet, Alt semicolon, so it's able to select the visible cell only. So this is the thing that we want to have. And let's repeat again. Select the entire worksheet, Alt semicolon. Control C is to copy the entire worksheet. Yes, it says unable to do on the merging. So I realize this is a mistake I want to avoid. So I want to do some correction here by merge them. And I want to do some changes here by go to right click format cells. And I want to go to alignment. Instead of merge and center, this is another option you can consider. I want to, on the horizontal, I want to center across selection. I can press OK. So now it's centered across the selection and they are not merged. And let's continue. And these very common things you will encounter, especially you want to perform the manual step. Make sure everything is okay and the file is ready for the steps. So Alt semicolon to select the visible cells only. Control C, and I want to go to brand new file. I'll press Control N and go to brand new file, and I'll just paste it here, and it doesn't paste the hidden row and columns here. So let's investigate. Yes, A, B, C, D. So the hidden column doesn't copy across. So maybe I want to select on A1 as the final destination. So because the copy is still having the effect, I want to press Escape just to make sure the user doesn't accidentally paste again. So this is the whole steps, and I have just tested an experiment using the normal Excel. So I want to close this file without saving. And now I'm going to perform the recording based on the step we have just tested. So I will go to Developer, Record Macro, and I want to give a different name. Maybe this is called Finalize Worksheet. Finalize Worksheet. That means you will finalize the whole thing in a brand new file. I can press OK. Select the entire worksheet and press Alt semicolon. So it will select only the visible cells. I can press Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl N for the brand new file. I will just paste it here. If let's say I normal paste, it will have some hiccup on the formulas. I want to paste as values, and at the same time I want to paste as the format. So I press Ctrl Alt V for the paste special. There's something called values. I can press OK, and I want to do the same thing. Ctrl Alt V. I want to paste as the format. At the same time, so that is perfectly done, I will go back to A1, click on A1, and we want to turn off the grid line for this worksheet. So I can view, turn off the grid line, So it's done, and I stop recording. A lot of time people have the perception I started the recording from a previous worksheet. I need to go back to previous worksheet before so that I'm able to stop. Actually, it's not necessary. If I go back to my previous worksheet, it means I'm asking Excel to perform the extra step, go back to the previous worksheet or previous file. So now I just want to go back to developer. Before that, I may have the copy and steal effect. I want to press escape to make sure the user doesn't have the chance to paste it again. I'll press escape and then I will stop recording. So done. So this is the whole step I have just recorded. Now I want to stop. I want to close this file without saving, and I want to test it out, see how it works. I go back to macro, and it has something called finalize worksheet, and I hit run, and it just go to a brand new file and with the whole thing formatted. Yes, and I want to hide a different row as well, maybe a different columns just for testing. I just hide them. I go to macro, finalize worksheet, and hit run, and go. Yep, this is so perfectly done. And let me close this file without saving. And before we wrap up, and I want to save my current file so that it's able to reuse in my future session as well. So I want to save it. If normally you save your file, you will encounter this message. And if I click yes, that means all the macro I have just recorded, it will be gone for good after we close this file. So this is the thing I want to avoid. In order to reuse this one, the macro in this current file, I will click no. So I want to choose the file type as a macro enabled workbook. And then I can press OK, and to save it, after I've done the recording just now, and I want to do some testing. And back to the folder you have, and you can see it has two files with almost identical same name, and one of them with the exclamation mark. This is the file with the macro in it. Let me double click and to open. For the very first time, you will see it has a security warning. Macros have been disabled. It will ask you whether or not you want to enable the content. And just a warning, if you receive the file, the macro file from unknown sources, by clicking enable content, you are exposing yourself to have some unnecessary risk. At the same time, it may corrupt your file, which is beyond recoverable damage. So be careful on the file you receive, and just to be sure, do not click enable content easily. So because the file, we are the one created it, so I'm able to safely say this is safe. Enable content. So now I want to trigger the macro using the keyboard shortcuts just now. Control Shift H is to unhide everything. And I want to copy and paste values is I will select the section. Control C to copy. Go to a place. I will use Control Shift V to paste as values. So this is perfectly done and is only workable for this Excel file. If let's say I want to have this macro we have just recorded available for all the files without opening this particular macro file, so this is something you may want to consider by moving this macro into something called personal macro workbook. So let me remove this. By default, personal macro workbook is not created in your computer, so I need to make sure it's created. I go to developer, trigger a record macro, and just having a dummy name is perfectly okay. I want to store the macro in personal macro workbook and press OK, and the file is created behind the scene. Now I just need to stop recording. After that, that is done and the file has been created. The next step is I want to move the macro from this particular file into the personal macro workbook so that it's available for all the files in this computer. So I go to Visual Basic, or the keyboard shortcut is Alt F11. So inside here, I will see there's a Project Explorer. Just in case your one do not see this, you will just go to View. There's something called Project Explorer. The keyboard shortcut is Ctrl R, and you're able to see something like this. Inside personal Excel SB, you can see this is the board. That means this is the file hidden behind the scene. Open it, you will see something called modules. Double click on the module 1. This is the macro we have just created. Do not need to worry so much about the coding here. So this is something Excel has done it for you. And because this is only for testing, I want to remove it. I will just right click and remove module 1. And it will ask you whether or not you want to save it as a backup before removing. Because currently this is only testing, I do not need to save it as a backup. So I will click no. And now I go back to the previous file. Excel automation is so easy or so simple. So I click on the modules, drag the module 1 into the personal.xlsb. And you can see this highlighted for the personal.xlsb. Let go, you can see this modules appears here. Double click. Yep, this is done as everything here. And I can close it. And I want to show you how you're able to make sure the personal macro workbook is safe with the macro we have just moved it. So I want to close the file here by pressing Ctrl W, and of course it will ask us to save. I do not want to save anything here. I will just say don't save. After that, I'm going to close the Excel program and you will get another prompt. So let me close, and it will ask you, do you want to save the changes you made to the personal macro workbook? If you say yes, that means all the macro will be available in the next time you run Excel. So I will say save it, and now I'm going to run the Excel by opening Excel automation. It's so simple, the previous file without any macro in it. I will just double click and open it. And all the shortcut you have set it in the previous macro by dragging and moving along, it is able to follow or inherited here as well. Before we continue, just to double check, I go to developer and go to macro, or the keyboard shortcut is Alt F8. Inside here, I have something called Unhide row and columns. It has a shortcut keys Ctrl Shift H. I will just go to options. Yes, the shortcut key stays. I press cancel. Let's go to paste as values just to investigate. Options. Yes, it has the Ctrl Shift V for the shortcut paste as values. So this is perfectly okay. And I want to trigger Unhide all by Ctrl Shift H. Yes, it's done. And I want to paste as value for this particular section. Ctrl C and go to some other places. Ctrl Shift V for paste as value, the macro. Yes, it is done. And there's one more thing I want to make it much more easier to use, which is to finalize the worksheet. Currently, the only way to trigger is to go to developer, macro is something called finalize worksheet. And I want to have it in the quick access toolbar, so which is on the top. So this is the thing I have done. I want to remove it. I want to redo the whole thing again. But I make sure I'm on the quick access toolbar here. Right click on any of the name. Right click, it was something called customize quick access toolbar. Another method, you could just have a drop down here, customize quick access toolbar. Click. As one option says more command. And both options, it will bring you to the same place. On the left side, choose command from. You want to choose from macros. And there's one option says finalize worksheet. Before you continue, just to make sure, you want to customize the quick access toolbar for all documents. I click add. And because the icon and the wording is not elegant, I want to modify it. And I want to choose, and maybe I put a smiley face. And on the display name, here you are able to put the space, uppercase and lowercase to make it much more easier to read. I will say finalize worksheet. I can press OK and press OK. So on the top left section, the quick access toolbar, I will see there's one smiley face there. So let me click on that. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's click. And it's going to create a brand new worksheet and everything pastes as values. Let me close this without saving. And I want to do the same thing. I want to hide the column C and D. And I'm going to trigger finalize worksheet. Yep, it's done beautifully, and now I'm able to say the whole thing is done so beautifully, and I'm able to make sure my macro is available for all the files I'm working in this current computer. So let me close it without saving. So this is done, and I want to close this and without saving as well. And finally, I just want to close it just to make sure whatever changes we have done is saved with Excel. So this is the only step you want to perform if you perform any changes on the personal macro book. Close it. So now everything is saved with the Excel. The next time you open, what you have experienced just now is the power and the joy of Excel automation. And this could be the very first time you have done it successfully. And I hope this experience is able to give you the sense of achievement. Hey, actually, I'm able to do Excel automation. And with this information, you're able to move forward and to acquire much more complex or advanced automation in Excel. Wouldn't you agree? Excel automation is so simple.